Should you presume to watch Presumed Innocent? Presumably it's good, but is it really? Succession Season 2. Is it as good as Season 1? Does it still give Micah the ick? Did she even watch it? 1923. Does Taylor Sheridan continue to take a big fat piss all over the entertainment industry? Let's talk about it. Well, let's get started with the thing we watched together, which was...
Juntos?
Yes, in CMA. Which was Presumed Innocent, starring Shaky Jake Gyllenhaal and other people. There was really only one other actor that I recognized in this, and that was the actor that played Tommy Molto. His name is Peter Sarsgaard. He's been in a lot of stuff over the years, but the thing most recently we saw him in was that one hipster movie, Garden State.
Well, also Bill Camp was in this, and
yeah.
he's in the Queen's Gambit. He's in a bunch of stuff, but that's the main thing I recognize him from.
I recognized him from something too that was different, but I don't know. Molly's Game, I think. So, what is Presumed Innocent about? It's adapted from a book, executive produced by Jake Gyllenhaal, so we can only assume that this is something of a pet project for him. And what is it, Micah?
So there's a murder
In Savannah. Except swap Savannah out for Chicago.
This show is about a murder. There is a assistant district attorney, Carolyn Polimis, has died, and the chief district attorney, is that his title?
Just the district attorney.
District attorney Rusty Savage, who's played by Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, you're right. He's the chief deputy.
Chief deputy.
Yeah.
Is assigned to try her case. Is that the term? Very quickly, we find out that Rusty was having an affair with Carolyn Polimis, and it is a very bad look that he did not disclose this when he was assigned this case, because his DNA and his prints and evidence that he has been at her house recently comes out. And so the show is about the trial of Carolyn Polimis against Jake Gyllenhaal, Rusty.
Yeah.
They're trying him for her death. Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. The person who's trying the case is Mr. Tommy Molto, who's played by Peter Sarsgaard, and he and Jake Gyllenhaal's character Rusty don't like each other at all. So there's inter-office politics and grudges, and yeah, it's a murder mystery / legal drama / thriller.
Thriller? You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it is decently engaging. I would say that we binged it, right?
Yeah, I would say so too.
But I don't think it's a great binge.
No.
I think it's just like an okay binge.
Yeah.
You know? Reason why, like, it's done competently enough, but there's nothing really, I don't know, special about this. It's just Jake Gyllenhaal not being forthcoming about literally everything, and then a new thing coming out, and you're like, oh, maybe he did it. And then the episode will play out, and you're like, oh, no, he's probably innocent. I don't know. And then another thing will come out in the next episode, and you're like, oh, he really should have disclosed that. Maybe he really did it. Oh, no, I don't know. A big theme of this is reasonable doubt, right? Guilty until you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. So a big theme of this is reasonable doubt, and the show points to Jake Gyllenhaal maybe being the culprit, but they give you enough reasonable doubt to say, you know what, he might not actually be the culprit. And it's basically, how many episodes are there in this season?
8.
It's 8 episodes of that, and it's good. It's acted well enough, it's written well enough, but again, there's nothing really special about it.
No, and it's hard because he's a very flawed character, which is okay, but you really don't want to root for him.
No.
He is such an asshole.
He is.
So it comes out that he had an affair with Carolyn a year prior, and his wife found out, or he told his wife, and they worked through it, and she stayed. And they have 2 kids that are, I would say, anywhere from 14 to 16.
Yeah.
Is around what their ages were. And I would assume his wife stayed for the kids, and she probably, loves Rusty and whatever. And he picks up the affair again.
And doesn't tell her. And when she's found dead, when Carolyn is found dead, Rusty tells his wife Barbara, they just found Carolyn dead. And she's like, obviously having mixed feelings about it. He said, all that stuff with me and Carolyn was over so long ago. And then it turns out that, oh, wait, no, he'd actually seen her much more recently than that. And he was like, it picked back up
but it was over
for like a week, but it was over. And then you find out in another episode, oh, he actually went over there that night and was texting her obsessively about how they wanted to get back he wanted to get back together. So he's telling partial truth after partial truth after partial truth, and after a while you're just like, I'm not really rooting for this guy.
No.
In fact, I wrote down, Rusty is not so trusty. You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a good person. He's not a good person at all. And the show wants you to root against Tommy Molto because
the prosecutor.
Yeah, everybody dislikes him at the DA's office.
Because he is kind of a dick.
He's kind of a dick, yeah, but like they do not juxtapose him with any kind of a shining light to actually like.
No.
In Rusty. So you kind of just walk away disliking everybody except for Rusty's lawyer, who is the former district attorney. What's that guy's name? Raymond. Betrayment. Yeah, we liked Raymond. Raymond didn't betray him. That's just a joke that you're not going to get. We liked Betrayment a lot. But apart from that, like, I don't really like Barbara. Rusty's kids are fine.
I like those kids.
They're fine.
Yeah.
They're just, they're small parts in a greater whole. Rusty, definitely, we didn't like. Tommy, we didn't love either. The district attorney, Nico de la Guardia, has this voice that's just, it's infuriating, isn't it?
You know what he's from?
Huh?
Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, is he? Of course he is. But he talks like this. Hey, Tommy.
It's a little bit higher pitched than that.
I'm just wondering if you're actually fit to try this case. That's how he talks. The same cadence, like, he's just.
That was actually really good. Once you
got this air of condescension every time he opens his mouth. He's not very likable either.
No.
So like the reason that you stay is to find out what happened.
And I wonder, because before Rusty gets kicked off of the case, he goes and talks to the medical examiner, the ME, and he gets into this screaming match with the ME, and he ends up
grabbing him by the lapel.
Yeah, and shaking him or whatever.
Yeah.
But the ME asshole.
The ME's a total dick. Like the ME gets into a fight with Rusty. He gets into a fight with Tommy.
Stand.
He gets into a fight with Raymond. He gets into a fight with Nico de la Guardia. He is he's a nightmare. He's got to be a nightmare to work with. He hates everybody, it seems like.
But I just wonder, why did they portray everybody so quick to anger? Tommy quick to anger, Rusty quick to anger, the ME quick to anger.
Yeah.
It's like, is that realistic to do that? I feel like no.
What else? So let's just do Parents Guide now. There's
a ton of sex.
Yeah, there's a lot. And it doesn't show anything graphic, but it's
you see butts.
It's extremely suggestive.
Yeah.
With the sound and like the close-ups and
and in my opinion, it didn't need that much.
It did not need that much at all. Like, it is constantly cutting because we're following Rusty's thoughts sometimes, and he'll just be thinking about it, and it'll cut back to that.
To them.
To one instance or another where they're, getting it on. And
wow, chicka, wow, wow.
Right. and that's like it's once per episode at least.
Oh, more than that. Yeah.
So it's pretty constant that this is happening. There's a lot of swearing. There's violence. There's a scene of violence that is just like, when it happens, you're like, what the f*** was that for?
When?
Someone is having a dream.
Oh my god.
And then their head just explodes.
Yeah.
And like that looked like an expensive shot.
Yeah. And for what purpose?
Not really anything substantive other than he's stressed and he's having a nightmare.
Yeah. That was a little bit frustrating to me because when they have a lot of different shots of people having nightmares throughout this show.
Yeah.
Like Raymond,
Rusty.
I feel like there's probably one other person, but I can't think of it.
Yeah.
And you don't know that it's them having a dream until they're talking about it later.
And they wake up.
Yeah.
But once it happens the first time, then you catch on to it. Like if it's a strange situation, you're like, okay, maybe this is a dream.
Maybe, but I didn't really love the way that they did that.
But it felt thrown in just for shock value.
Yeah.
At the, because they're showing you something shocking happening and you're like, what? And then it's a dream and you're like, oh, okay. So you wanted to just shock us.
Yeah.
But like the head exploding thing, the reason that I find that kind of annoying is this is a legal drama. Yeah, there's a murder in it, but like this isn't like a war movie. Why does that shot doesn't even feel like it belongs in this story?
Yeah. I just feel like in certain ways this show was unnecessarily excessive. The sex, excessive.
Mm-hmm.
That, excessive. For what purpose?
Yeah. And then, but we binged it. So it's entertaining enough.
It definitely is.
And you want to know what happens, but the ending is a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I was very disappointed with the ending.
Yeah.
So, I will say, we talked about this in the last episode, shows treating the audience like they're smart.
There are hints. You could figure it.
Sure. You're right. Like, I think that they did a good job of leaving things ambiguous, and because there were a few different times, where we were like, oh, it's for sure Rusty. But maybe it's so-and-so. Oh, no, it's Rusty. But maybe it's this other person. Mm-hmm. And, there was some good mystery, but I didn't love the ending.
No.
We'll get into that in spoilers later on, but
I think we should just rate it.
Okay.
So I think that it's decent. But it's really not great. I'll give it a 6.7 hey Tommies out of 10.
That's fair. I think I'm gonna rate this a 7. I'll fight yous on my front porch out of 10.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever watch this again.
No.
I don't think the characters are compelling enough to watch it again.
Are we being too harsh on something that we were entertained by? I don't know. Maybe. That's for you to decide. Not for me to think about at all. If I'm going to compare it to some other legal dramas that we've seen and loved, it doesn't have nearly the same level of writing as A Few Good Men.
Or The People versus O.J. Simpson.
It doesn't have nearly the same charisma in the main character as something like The Lincoln Lawyer.
Oh, we should watch that again.
What else?
The movie, not the TV show.
What other legal dramas have I seen?
What was the...
It doesn't have nearly the same, like, crazy cool twist as Primal Fear.
That's the one I was thinking of.
It doesn't have...
Michael Clayton?
Michael Clayton I like, yeah. That one I can't remember super well, though. 12 Angry Men, it doesn't have the... Again, like, that's a very dialogue-heavy and sort of ethics-heavy movie. It doesn't have nearly the same... like weighty discussion of ethics as 12 Angry Men. It's just sort of a jack of all trades, and it doesn't do any of them particularly interestingly. Oh, Better Call Saul. That's the it's not nearly as like realistic or interesting in terms of thoughtful character development as something like Better Call Saul. So it's just sort of like, I don't want to say baby's first legal drama because that's not true. It's not for babies.
It had potential.
Yeah. It's lacking a lot of what I loved in other legal dramas, and it doesn't really specialize in any one thing. It's competent at what it does, competent enough, but in the end, kind of forgettable.
I think that if we'd gotten one really good character, it would have done a ton for this show.
Honestly, I think Tommy is the best character in this show.
That's upon reflection. While we were watching it, we hated him. There was nobody that we really liked.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
I just think that would have gone a long way.
So...
spoilers, right?
Yeah, spoiler time. I guess let's just talk about the ending. So at a certain point, Jake Gyllenhaal's daughter, Rusty's daughter, Jaden, she's like Captain AP courses, by the way. Every conversation she has with her dad, she's like, I was learning about this thing in AP Psych. Oh, I learned about this last year in AP English. Oh, in AP Math, we're learning about this. Like, okay, she's flexing. But anyway, she's like, one of her conversations, she's talking about disassociation with Rusty and how sometimes if you do something that is so out of character and so shocking even to you, you become another person basically. And then once the thing is over,
you block it out,
yeah,
or you
you disassociate from that person that committed whatever the thing was. And she was like, "Is that possible? That you did that, and you're disassociating?"
Did she ask that, or okay? And Rusty freaks out on her.
Right.
He is such an asshole to his family.
He's
A
an asshole to
Ferris
everybody.
I know, but like to his kids, like he so quickly yells at them.
Yeah.
About all of this, and I understand that he's stressed and all of that about this trial.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something that is also traumatic for your family, especially your kids that are in high school.
That are just now finding out about the affair, in addition to the fact that, oh, their father might be a murderer.
And also was...
impregnated his affair partner.
Yeah.
It's a lot to drop on kids, obviously. She has this conversation with him, and nothing really comes of it, but that's a seed that's laid for you. And then at the end... Rusty confronts his wife Barbara, who is working out after he's acquitted. He gets acquitted because they don't have enough evidence to convict. So he's presumed innocent, right? Unless you can prove beyond reasonable doubt that he did it, which they weren't able to do. All they had was circumstantial evidence. But he confronts his wife, and he's like, "I know you did it, Barbara, but it's okay because when I went back to the house that night and found her dead, I covered up for you because I knew that there was only one person who could have been capable of this, and I knew it was you. So I covered up for you."
And Barbara is shocked.
Right. And he's saying, at first, like, I came home and you didn't even skip a beat, so I thought, well, maybe it wasn't actually you. But then Jaden was talking to me about disassociation, and I think that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
And she's protesting the whole time.
You did this and you disassociated, and I helped you cover it up because we're a family and we got to stay together. She's like, no, that's not possible. The murder weapon was a fire poker, and at some point it gets placed in Tommy Molto's kitchen, and it has like some sort of a nasty note, like "F off" or something like that. And Tommy is convinced that Rusty planted it there because he's convinced that Rusty did it. But it's inferred heavily that Rusty had nothing to do with it. In this confrontation that Rusty's having at the very end with Barbara, he says, I tracked your car. You were the one that went to Tommy Molto's house. You were the one that dropped off the poker. I know it was you. And then Rusty's daughter walks into the room, and she's like, actually, no, it was me. I took Mom's car and put the fire poker in Tommy Molto's kitchen. So it was the daughter. It was the daughter that killed Carolyn. And like, yeah, they laid the seeds. I will say, I think that if they had gone with the disassociation twist, I think I would have liked that less, because that just seems
like a cop out almost.
It just seems, it strains credulity for me. You know, that someone would be able to do that and just completely forget about it.
It happens though.
Really?
It has to. There's a term for it.
But anyways, she...
Because why would it...
confesses, right? I don't know. And then Rusty is like, we will never speak of this, and we'll go on living our lives because we're a family. We got to stick together.
And the thing that sucks is Barbara was about to leave him.
Yeah.
She had her bag packed and ready to go when he confronts her about this. And now, we feel there was no way that she could ever leave.
No, because
they're all accessories now.
Yep. It is a surprising twist, I guess. We did predict that maybe Barbara was the one at a certain point. Mm-hmm. We did not suspect the kids, so I guess good job pulling the wool over our eyes.
I will say, in terms of like legal stuff, it was kind of frustrating because we're no experts when it comes to the law and court and trials and all of that. We didn't really like the way that the judge handled a lot of this. We felt like overstepping or it wasn't correct. legally, or
she kept giving them advice on, like, when they would have sidebars in her office, not sidebars, but like council meetings in her office. She was like, I'll give a mistrial. I'll give you a mistrial.
So quickly.
Say the word. I'll give it to you. She's like handing them out like Halloween candy.
Yeah, she offered it like 5 times.
Yeah. At a certain point, you're just like, geez, lady, shut the fuck up about mistrials already, right? We're sick of it. Right, Micah?
Yeah.
Is that your favorite word, mistrial?
My word, just marry it already.
Right. Get a room with mistrial. With mistrial.
Bow, chicka, wow, wow.
Maybe
the judge with mistrial.
Maybe she has never given a mistrial, and that's why she's so obsessed. She's, oh, wait, I can do it. I can do it. Hey, guys, I haven't done it yet. I don't know. She never holds anyone in contempt either. That's new, right?
Yeah.
Usually someone gets held in contempt. It's decent. If you've got nothing else to watch and this has been on your backlog, then pop it on. You might like it more than we did. But the one thing we can guarantee is it is entertaining enough to hook you. But if you've listened up to this point, the mystery is going to be gone for you. So
then there's no point.
Then there might not be any point at all. But anyways, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I watched season 2 of 1923. And just a recap of season 1 where we left off. Spencer and his wife, Alex, get separated. And they're both trying to make their way to Montana because Spencer's family is at war. Harrison Ford.
Yeah, with Sir Bronn of the Blackwater.
Yeah. And that guy is gross.
Yeah.
In this show.
But he's Sir Bronn of the Blackwater.
Like, is a sexual deviant the right word?
I thought that was Timothy Dalton's character.
Oh yeah, you're right.
James Bond.
Yeah,
guy.
you're right.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with Sir Bronn of the Blackwater, right?
No, he's just kind of an entitled asshole.
I mean, does that remind you of anyone? John Dutton, Beth Dutton, yeah, Jamie Dutton. Are the Duttons at least, like, I don't know, 2% more likable than the Duttons in the original show?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So basically, the season is building up to, again, where we left off in season 1. People were trying to take over the Duttons' land because they wanted to. Basically, everybody is suffering. Everybody has cattle or livestock that they're trying to keep alive. People feel like the Duttons have more than enough and that they should share, but nobody wants to ask. And so they just take.
Well, the Duttons wouldn't give it.
The Duttons do help a lot of people in season 1. Like, there's this livestock association or whatever, and they all pull together on the Duttons' land to try and keep their cattle alive. But the sheep herders just take.
Do you feel like part of the purpose of the way that they're doing this way with these Yellowstone prequel series is Taylor Sheridan is trying to justify how aggressively bitchy John Dutton is about... It
could be.
But, like, that's stupid, though, because that didn't happen to him. That just happened to some of his predecessors.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah. And also what's going on, the Native American girl, Tiona, from season 1, she escaped from this is what they call it, the Indian school. And she's trying to stay alive while also being hunted down by U.S. Marshals. Sadly, you know who's not in this as a U.S. Marshal?
Raylan Givens?
Yeah, Timothy Oliphant.
Well, he chose his U.S. Marshal projects better than... Yeah. Because, it was Fargo, and it was, of course, Justified.
Well, yeah. And I wouldn't have wanted him to be in this one.
Yeah.
The U.S. Marshals were literally the worst. And so she has met up with her dad, and this boy, Pete, they're trying to escape from the U.S. Marshals.
Yeah.
So that's what the dealing with in season 2 is, trying to resolve those storylines. I will say there's a lot of sex. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of violent sex that I absolutely hated. I did not feel like it was needed. That storyline did not need to be the case. The only reason, in my opinion, that it is, I don't even want to say good, but like that it connects to the original Yellowstone series is, that like No Man's Zone or whatever, I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, the train station?
Yeah. in Yellowstone. So if you don't know what that is, there's this county or there's this area of land, I think in Montana. Technically, there is no jurisdiction.
Is this true? Real life?
It is real, but if you commit a crime in that area, you still
the U.S. Marshals can come after you.
Right, you can still be tried. So it's not exactly, but people always love to talk about this, even though it's not. You can still get in trouble for committing crimes here, and so they dump bodies there, and so that's where it's introduced is in this season of 1923, and they utilize that concept a ton in Yellowstone. Besides that, I didn't really feel like this sex needed to be there. It was super, I hated it. It was gross and disgusting. There is a lot of violence when it comes to just people dying, especially with Tiona, the Native American girl. The way that people die in the U.S. Marshals and just all of it. I felt like this season had a ton of filler. They should have just made season 1 a couple episodes longer, only done 1 season.
Is there going to be a 3rd season?
I don't think so.
Okay.
At least I really hope not, because like I said, there was a ton of filler. Because Alex and Spencer get separated at the end of season 1, and they're both separately trying to make their way to Montana. And there's a lot of things that happen that just drag out the story that are not necessary, in my opinion. So I am going to rate this, and then I have a couple of spoilers. But honestly, I think I'm going to rate this season a 4 cattles.
Whoa.
Out of 10. I really did not enjoy this season at all. This is spoilers really fast. Alex is pregnant with John Dutton, I think, is who it is.
That's John Dutton's mom?
I think so. I could be wrong. It could be John Dutton's dad.
Does the math work out? Because that was when did
I guess maybe
Yellowstone come out? Because that would have been like 2020. Does that sound right?
Okay, so maybe it was
2020.
John Dutton's dad is born because it's 1923.
Well, that would make him about. Yeah, no, that's impossible.
Okay, yeah,
that would make
so
him
I guess it's
100 years old.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So I guess it's John Dutton's dad, and he's born 6 months early.
Okay.
And so the baby that they show is like CGI, and it looks really freaky. It literally looks like an alien.
Does it look scarier or less scary than those baboons from Gladiator 2?
Scarier in a different way.
Okay.
So Alex has this baby in Montana and dies 10 minutes basically after the baby is born, and then Spencer goes on this rampage to kill everybody because he blames them for his wife dying, even though...
Oh, his wife died?
That's who Alex is.
Spencer's wife died?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wonder why Harrison Ford took on this project, honestly. I know it's for the money, because I think that's why he's been doing a lot of projects recently.
He's admitted it in interviews.
Yeah. But even still, I'm disappointed that he took on this project.
Well, didn't they kill him at the end of season 1 and then he comes back to life?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing the Yellowstone thing again. Like, they don't know how to keep their show interesting if they lose a main character.
Yeah. And I will say, Tiona, anything bad that could happen to her does happen to her.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was kind of unnecessary. She gets away, she's in a complete, states away, and people find her and kill everybody that's associated with her. Mm-hmm. I just felt like that was unnecessary. I guess that's pretty much it. I wouldn't recommend watching this show, honestly. And I enjoyed season 1 from what I remember, and I enjoyed 1883. Is that what it is?
Yeah, with Sam Elliott.
Yeah, that's all.
All right, well, let's finish on a high note. Succession season 2 is really good. Really good, guys. If you like Succession season 1, watch Succession season 2. There's no reason to stop. What do I want to talk about in this? I'm not really going to talk about the story, but I'll tell you my notes that I wrote. There's just as much vulgarity, backstabbing, and conniving as in season 1. There's some really hilarious Greg and Tom moments. Logan Roy gets pissed a lot in this season and loses his cool. Holly Hunter is in this season, Mrs. Incredible, the voice of Mrs. Incredible, and she fits it really well. She fits it like a glove. I still think that Tom and Greg are maybe the best characters apart from Logan,
and are such a great duo.
Right. And I had a realization as I was watching this, because Tom is I don't want to say he's completely out of his element as a character, because he has moments where you can tell, like, yeah, he's not dumb.
I just think it doesn't come naturally to him.
He knows the dangers of this world, and he is a sort of a poser, right? He's a Midwest, kid that grew up middle class that is now rich, and maybe he doesn't really belong with all these forever rich people, these old money people. And yeah, when he gives interviews, he's not very eloquent in those interviews, and he says stupid things, but he's not a complete idiot. I don't know. Like, anyway, besides that, he is sometimes portrayed as a bumbling idiot, and I realized as he was doing that, despite him not really being the right man for the job and sort of being an imposter in that world, Matthew McFadden might actually be the best actor on this show. He like so effortlessly conveys bumbling when he needs to that I'm like, holy shit, this guy's a really good actor.
I just feel like so many people know him as Mr. Darcy.
Yeah.
That he does such a good job that you think that he is Tom. You don't even think about the fact that he was right. Mr. Darcy.
But when he's Mr. Darcy, he's Mr. Darcy.
He's Mr. Darcy.
Yeah.
Right.
He's really good. The guy's got range. We finally found out Roman's deal sexually. You like that? That's a Ted Lasso reference. Jamie says that when he's on that game show. I'm England's top scorer sexually. Kendall, for most of this season, he behaves like a whipped dog, but
for sure,
it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that you've seen season 1, or you don't care about season 1 spoilers if you're listening to this, but Kendall accidentally kills someone, sort of, manslaughter, and Logan knows this and
gets him out of it.
He is embracing his son and covering it up for him with the implied threat that, hey, I own you now.
Yeah.
So that's why Kendall is just sort of like, he's under Logan's thumb. But also I loved how for probably the first 2/3 to even the entire season, you could argue, Kendall is like very clearly haunted by like guilt and what he's done. I loved that. I loved that they didn't just brush it under the rug. It's like an actual
issue.
It has consequences.
Yeah.
Take notes, Yellowstone. When something like this happens, character like a real life person, even if they come from a super rich background, they'd be haunted by it. Tom has a talk with Shiv, and it was really, really good at the end of this season. Also, things come full circle in this season in a way that's really, really satisfying in the last episode. It's just great TV. It's really funny. It's really entertaining. It's captivating. It's almost like a mystery. You can't wait to see how this is going to unfold and who's going to be running the company, and are they going to be able to get out from under this hostile takeover that started at the beginning of the first season. And it's crazy to me that I'm as invested as I am in this show, because these guys are just a bunch of rich pricks, like we said in the season 1 review, and I really should not give a shit about any of their problems, but I'm hooked, So I'm gonna rate this a 9.5.
Whoa.
Seersucker suits on a yacht out of 10. How do you like that?
No.
All right, little bit of spoilers. So I mentioned that Shiv and Tom have a talk, and Shiv and Tom have a interesting relationship. Tom very clearly loves Shiv, and I think it's starting to become more and more clear that Shiv actually does love Tom, but she is even more of a narcissist than Tom is, and she's sort of incapable of seeing the harm that she's causing Tom. And all of the DTR conversations that they have, define the relationship conversations that they have, like, they're very awkward and stilted, and Tom just sort of caves to whatever Shiv wants every single time.
But in a way that is not healthy. Not that it's healthy to cave, but Shiv is saying what she wants without saying what she wants. And Tom just has to guess what she's saying.
And Tom brings up the subject every time. Like, he's like, hey, Shiv, I don't know how I feel about having an open relationship, for example. And then Shiv will find a way to talk around the problem without actually solving it.
Because when it first gets brought up, she's like, well, we're both adults. You know, like...
He's like, right. Okay. And she's like, and shit happens, you know?
He's like,
and then Tom's like, right. Uh, does shit happen?
And so she, like, brings these ideas to the table, but then doesn't explain, you know, define the rules, the boundaries, and all of that.
Right.
Which is wrong, in my opinion.
She's a politician, right? You know?
You're right. That's true.
And Tom just wants to have a healthy relationship. The poor guy. I mentioned, okay, well, I'll talk about their talk really quick. So the last episode, they're on a yacht and they're facing this hostile takeover situation. Another thing I loved, by the way, they bring up the cruise situation in season 1. The way that they bring it up, you know, they don't give specifics, but Tom describes it as a disease that he has now been infected with.
A virus.
And everybody he touches with it, he effectively kills. And Greg's like, oh, I don't think I want you to tell me what this is. And he tells Greg, but we as the audience don't find out about it. So they could have just like sort of left it as this vague MacGuffin thing. But no, like they explain what it actually is later in season 1.
And it's really bad.
And it's pretty bad. And you're like, okay, yeah, justified. They're covering up essays on the cruise lines that the Roys own, as well as unexplained deaths and just really sketchy stuff that's going on, coercion, all that kind of nasty stuff. And you think that it's gone away in season 1, but it resurfaces in season 2, and it adds to the tensions and the stakes that are happening at the end of season 2, because with all of this surfacing, in addition to the hostile takeover, it's going to be really hard to convince shareholders that Logan Roy is the right person to be, you know, in charge of the company. So like this whole show is
manning the ship, if you will.
Yes, nice, Micah. And it all ends on a yacht.
Oh, nice.
It's just so brilliantly thought out so far. You know, I haven't finished the series, but so far there's so many little things like that. Like, who's going to be running the ship? Steady, Kendall says, steady as she goes, hits the iceberg.
Oh.
In like in season 1, episode 1 or episode 2, when he's taking over while his dad's having a stroke. Like everything is just crafted really well, and it all comes to a head. But anyway, they're on this yacht for a vacation, in between air quotes. But the real purpose of this vacation is to figure out whose head is going on the spike.
Who's taking the fall for the cruise line stuff? Who's
going to take the blame? And that's why they're there. And so there's so much pressure going on.
Wait, so what was the conversation?
Right. So Tom's name gets brought up, and Shiv starts saying, yeah, maybe it should be Tom.
What?
In front of him. And Tom's just like, this is the last straw for him. And so they go off on a little excursion. They find a cove.
The two of them.
And they're sitting on a beach, and Tom is just like, you're just trying to f me, Shiv. He finally gets real with her, and he says, honestly, Shiv, when I think about it, most of the time I'm pretty unhappy. And she's like, what are you saying? He's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just starting to think that the kind of unhappy that I'd be without you, maybe that's better than the kind of unhappy I am with you.
Sheesh.
And you're like, whoa. And despite a lot of people in Succession not really talking like a real person, that conversation felt really like real. Just the way that he's just like, I don't know. And he's like looking down, and he doesn't really know how to put it into words. And then he sort of puts it into words, but you understand exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
Really good.
Wait, tell them about the Greg thing.
Which one?
The fire. The paperwork.
Oh yeah, what happens there? Yeah, they wait, should we back up and talk about the blackmail?
Oh yeah.
Did you just see this, or did I show it to you? Did I go back and show it to you?
I think you went back and showed it to me.
So there's this conversation. Greg is kind of tired of being abused, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, by Tom, because he's just his executive assistant, I would say.
Right, and Tom, you know, at the beginning of season 1 was really rough on Greg, but now has really come to love Greg.
Yeah.
Greg
but he doesn't know how to show it in a kind way.
Right.
He's like, you know, I'm not saying that this is right, but like in elementary school when little boys are mean to little girls, and people say, it's because they like you. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's right, but that's the best way to describe it.
But it's weirdly endearing.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, and like
the way that Tom does it.
Yeah. And you don't hate Tom
no.
after season 1, you know? And
because they're friends.
Yeah.
And Greg needs to stand up for himself so that Tom will stop. But Tom does like Greg.
He really does.
Yes.
And when push comes to shove, he has Greg's back.
Yeah. So basically, Tom set up Greg to take the fall for this cruise line stuff.
No, he didn't.
He has Greg.
Oh, he's the one that disposed of the documents in season 1. Yeah.
So he has him take the fall in that sense.
This is back when Tom didn't really like Greg.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyways, Greg is like, I'm thinking about leaving, and what do you think about me going to another department? And this is in the middle of there being a shooter in the building, and they're in a panic room, and stress and tensions are high, and Tom just loses it because they also got the shitty panic room. Everybody else is in like a nice panic room,
right? With like bunk beds and there's like Voss water.
Yeah, and Tom is just like pissed, and so he's like, "You're leaving me? This doesn't feel good, Greg. I don't like the way this feels at all, Greg. Why are you leaving me? No, you can't leave." And then he starts throwing water bottles at Greg. And then Greg's like, getting hit by the water bottles. He's like, "Tom, you're one of my best friends. You're like my best friend. Stop."
Okay, so then that happens, and then they have a conversation afterwards.
And Tom's like, "I'm sorry about, the attack. That wasn't cool."
Yeah, that really did not feel good.
And he's like, "But I can't let you go. You're smart. You're loyal. How could I let you go?" And Greg's like, "Okay, well, I hear what you're saying. And, what if I were to tell you, I'm not using this as a threat in any way, but what if I were to tell you that, when you sent me to dispose of those cruise documents, I kept a couple of them." And, and Tom's like, "Greg, are you blackmailing me?
Are you asking?
If
you can blackmail me?"
He's like, "No, I wouldn't use that word. You are. That's what you're doing. You're totally." And he's so proud.
Yes.
He's so proud of Greg. And he's like, "Very well. Blackmail accepted. You're going to get a raise, huge pay bump. What do you say?" He's like, okay, that sounds good." And he's like, "Where are those documents, Greg?"
"I'll never tell."
And they're just laughing.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Attaboy," and he pats him on the shoulder. Anyway, that was a long prelude into the fire thing that Micah said that I should tell everybody. At a certain point, it becomes clear that the cruise stuff is going to come out. It's going to go public. And Tom is like, "Greg, we need to dispose of everything. So you better give me everything you have, and we're going to dispose of it." And so he sort of strong arms Greg into putting all the documents into a fire pit on the balcony. They douse it with lighter fluid, and then he tries to light it with the lighter, and the lighter doesn't work. So he has to go back into the kitchen and grab the matches. And Greg just grabs a couple of them really quick, puts them into his pocket. So Greg still has some of the documents. And that becomes important later because Logan ends up choosing Kendall as the head that's going to go on the spike. Because Tom is not a big enough skull. Neither is Greg. Tom and Greg together, not a big enough skull. So he chooses Kendall. And the season ends with Kendall walking into the press conference, and he's going to read the statement and incriminate himself and just, stain his name forever because he was involved in all of this cover-up stuff. And then Kendall totally flips and says, it's my dad wanted me to take the fall for this. I'm not going to do that. It's laughable to think that millions of dollars were paid out without him giving the approval and the rubber stamp on that. My dad knew about this cruise fiasco the entire time. I'm not going to take the fall for it. And I have documents that prove that there was a concerted effort to cover all of this up. Greg gave him, the couple of documents that he took from the fireplace. So, a funny little moment becomes a very crucial detail that is going to play into season 3. I think that's all the spoilers I wanted to talk about. But great show. If you can just get past the first couple of episodes and find something to like about it, it's just going to keep hooking you in and making you more interested. So highly recommend. I think that's it. We still need to finish After Sun.
Yeah. I finished The Crown, and I'll probably talk about that next episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's been a long time coming, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good stuff. That's it. Hopefully we answered all the questions that we teased you with in the hook of this video. Do you think Taylor Sheridan continues to take a big fat piss all over the entertainment industry?
But this season, yeah.
Okay. Should you presume to watch Presumed Innocence? Innocent, presumably it's interesting. Was it interesting?
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what I said for Succession. The upshot is watch Succession. Watch that.
All right. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.